Hello everyone, it's your wannabe president. Again, hello everyone, it's Jan. In this video, I will talk about how, in my opinion, social media and the internet have changed the landscape of politics. Dahil po sobrang busy natin sa ating mga buhay, madalas nakakalimutan nating mag-reflect kung gaano kalaki yung epekto ng teknolohiya hindi lamang sa buhay ng tao kundi sa kasaysayan ng sangkatauhan. Technology does not only change the way we live our lives, it literally changes the course of history in leaps and bounds. Just imagine how the invention of the wheel revolutionized how human beings back then transported people and goods across long distances, or how the invention of the hammer and the nail allowed us to build sturdier homes which now served as the foundation for the skyscrapers that we marvel at today. Nowadays, we simply perceive these things as a given or perhaps normal parts of our lives. Pero dati, napakalaking advancement ng mga ito sa buhay ng ating mga ninuno. Maraming experts ang nagsasabi na ang internet ay isa sa pinakamahalagang inventions ng ating panahon. This invention changed our lives in tremendous ways. In this video, I'm choosing to highlight some of the big changes which I think have significantly impacted on society and politics. One of the most important impacts of the internet and social media is the further democratization of knowledge and information. The internet made vast amounts of information readily available at our fingertips. Ang ibig pong sabihin nito, dahil sa social media at internet, mas naging accessible na sa mga tao, mayaman man o mahirap, ang napakaraming kaalaman at impormasyon. These days, if there's information that we need, we only have to search Google to retrieve such information. According to the Digital 2020 report of Data Reportal, a consulting agency based in Singapore, there are 173.2 million mobile phone connections in the Philippines. That's more than our entire population. Perhaps this is because some Filipinos have more than one smartphone, among other reasons. Based on the same report, there are 73 million internet and social media users in the Philippines. But despite the increased access to knowledge and information, the internet has also created what experts call the digital divide, which is the gap between those who have ready access to computers, similar devices, and the internet, and those who do not. The pandemic has clearly shown us the effects of the digital divide not just on education but on many aspects of public governance. Halimbawa, it is an ongoing challenge for us to conduct classes in public schools because some students do not have access to gadgets that they need to access their lessons. This divide is further exacerbated by slow internet connection in the country. Kaya naman the entry of a third telco player in the industry is a welcome development for me. In a separate video, I will discuss why it is important to promote competition in the telecommunications sector and how we, the consumers, will benefit from it. I will also discuss why we need to open up many of our industries to attract more investors and foster competition in these industries. Aside from these effects, the democratization of information and knowledge has also unleashed a coercive force that compels governments to improve their performance. It has also enabled a certain kind of radical transparency from the government. Based on my observation, the internet has fostered a certain kind of mutual policing between the government and its citizens, which is why I think that the mechanism is coercive. Dahil sa social media, mas madali nang i-monitor ng mga citizens ang performance ng kanilang gobyerno. The internet can also easily expose and amplify the mistake and incompetencies of governments. Being aware of this, the government is compelled to improve on its performance. And to maintain the trust of the people, the government knows that it must be fully transparent. In fact, I think that the previous administration suffered greatly because their perceived incompetency, faux pas, and blunders were magnified by the internet and social media. Due to social media's interactive nature, increasing accessibility, and viral power, public officials and politicians are now faced with the risk of making mistakes, literally right in front the faces of their constituencies and getting feedback right away. For us regular citizens, it's like being in the same room when leaders commit these mistakes. Recently, nag-viral yung Zoom video ng isang barangay chairman sa Cavite habang nakikipag-sec siya sa treasurer niya during a video conference call. May mga articles akong nabasa na nagsasabi na medyo mahina daw sa technology si barangay chairman. This shows how the internet can be both the best dream and the worst nightmare for our public officials. While it gives them unhampered access to their constituency, they also have eyes on them 24/7. John Cide, a political science professor from the George Washington University, believes that social media has also increased the shelf life of these stories of political gaffes and blunders. Dahil din sa social media, old issues may now resurface, including old tweets, old speeches, old posts, which is another nightmare for politicians, especially when they are trying to change their political stance on certain issues. Because of the democratization of information, we the consumers have also become more discerning of marketing and PR strategies, not only for the products and services that we purchase, but also for the politicians that we choose to support. Nakita naman natin recently kung paano nag-backfire yung overly staged budget sona ni Yellow Girl. Due to our growing awareness about the ways traditional messengers would deceive us or push their agenda on us through propaganda, these messengers had to innovate their strategies by exploiting human psychology. This brings me to another impact. Manipulation campaigns have become more subtle and sophisticated. With the rise of the internet, we have been seeing the propagation of misinformation and the rise of trolls and bots to influence public opinion. May na-observe din ako in relation to this on social media. I have been reading dubious stories from random people on Facebook or Twitter that seek to appeal to our emotions or question our political beliefs with no ways of verifying their veracity. Kapag nakaka-encounter ako ng mga ganitong kwento, lalo na stories that sound implausible to me or masyadong madrama or very uncanny yung coincidence, I tend to be skeptical of them. Hindi ako kaagad naniniwala. Furthermore, I think that there are many incidents these days that are fabricated or even staged. Siguro, after studying political science and international relations for several years, mas naging skeptical lang ako sa lahat ng mga nangyayari sa paligid ko. Because I have become more aware of what people, nations, and other phenomena of power such as corporations are capable of just to advance their interests or agenda. So when consuming information, let us not be lazy readers. Let us not be afraid to question what we read and even question our own reactions to the stuff that we read. Honestly, even reputable source of information may have misleading or partial information. Some of them are even intentionally meant to mislead. Media companies may also handpick stories that they want to sensationalize. Nakikita natin ito ngayon during this pandemic where negative news is given more weightage and airtime than positive ones. They can also choose which data to emphasize, and usually the scarier the number, the more attention it receives from news outlets. Ang sabi nga nila, fear sells. This is because despite their slogans on their professed impartiality, the media is never an independent, objective body. Many of them are corporate-owned. At alam naman natin na ang mga pribadong kumpanya mas concerned yan sa profit kaysa sa public service. Many of the stories we read on the internet were also written by human beings like us, and us human beings will always be fallible and we have biases. Due to the inherent subjectivity of human judgment and news outlet being composed of human beings, they will always run someone else's errand and ideology, whether consciously or not. How many times have we unearthed links between news media outlets in the country and political parties, international advocacy groups, and businessmen? Countless of times. Kaya ako, paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, let us be critical. The radical democratization of information has also led to the existential crisis of the traditional media. Conventionally, people could only rely on the media as a source of news and information. Because of this, we have allowed the institution to dominate national discourse for decades. We have also allowed them to condition public perception and, in the process, permitting them to dictate to a great degree the fate of the nation. Not only did this impair the health of our national debate, their hidden agenda has also successfully hijacked Filipino democracy. Their priorities became national priorities. Their personal interests became national interests. But with the rise of social media, the traditional role of mainstream media has been under challenge by independent thinkers and alternative media organizations who propose a different way of viewing things. This brings me to the fourth and to me the most significant impact of social media on society and politics. Social media has democratized the truth. The rise of prominent independent thinkers and alternative media has undermined the exclusive privilege traditionally enjoyed by the mainstream media, which is their monopoly of truth, narrative, and perspective. As they say, when you are accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Back in 2017, I have written a full-length article on the democratization of truth, and I will link this in the description. These following paragraphs are an excerpt from that article. The disintegration of mainstream media's monopoly of perspective has made the Filipino plebeian a significant stakeholder again in nation building. The amplification of multiple perspectives has reinvigorated public discourse in the country, and this has led us to reevaluate our values, endeavors, and even our history as a nation. The truth is, traditional mainstream media used to play the noble role of giving voice to the people. That was before the corporatization of the media and the advent of the social media and internet. Today, that function has become obsolete. They have been relegated from being the voice to just a voice. And this is why they're losing their shit. Erosion of power by the mainstream media has positively influenced freedom of thought in the Philippines. The bastardization of their historical monopoly of truth and perspective represents the unshackling of the Filipino consciousness. The disintegration of their power is a victory for skepticism, and skepticism is an attribute of wisdom. Having said all those effects of the internet and social media in society and politics, at this point I will state some of my concerns regarding these phenomena. The first one is, while they have democratized information and perspectives, I am still concerned about the fact that internet and social media remain under the oligopoly of a few corporations. We must be careful because these corporations can change the rules anytime. We are already seeing some of the symptoms of this kind of system. There are people being deplatformed due to their political beliefs, narratives being favored, and an exclusive group of people are installed as truth regulators. This can be dangerous. Hopefully, in the future, we can find a way out of this prevailing system towards a more democratic one. Second, we are seeing the emergence of echo chambers and people choosing to stay in their own bubble rather than educating themselves so they are more equipped when engaging with those they disagree with. Honestly, I don't want to live in a society where we are all disconnected from each other just because we are afraid of being challenged or being offended. We must grow up and develop emotional intelligence. That's a sign of maturity. Lastly, I am concerned with the more sophisticated strategies of manipulation employed by marketing firms and media outlets, which could greatly distort reality. In this regard, I think that it is our social responsibility as citizens to remain vigilant, critical, and informed about our surroundings. No one else can do this for us. If I were to argue on whether the influence of the internet and social media on society and politics is more positive or more negative, I would say it has been more positive so far. As an individual who values freedom of thought, gaining access to vast amounts of knowledge and information, and access to multiple narratives and perspectives reinforces my own agency and freedom as a human being. Kasi kung isang perspektibo lang lagi ang pinapakita sa atin ng media, limitado rin yung paraan natin sa pagkamit ng mga layunin natin, hindi lang para sa ating mga sarili kundi para sa ating bansa. Para na rin tayong habang buhay na nakakulong sa iisang daan, disente kuno, baluktot naman. Hindi ganon ang ideya ko ng demokrasya at kalayaan. So that's it guys. Salamat po sa panonood at pagtatyagaan nyo na panoorin at tapusin yung mga videos ko. Again, kung nagustuhan nyo yung video na to, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon so you get notified as soon as I upload a new video. Also, please do not forget to like my Facebook page and follow my Twitter account. The links are in the description. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again soon. Bye!